Welcome to the Intentional Success Podcast, where we unpack the top strategies, explore business trends, and drill down into best practices to help your live events production business grow and scale on purpose. I'm your host, Tom Stimson. Welcome back, everyone. I want to talk about pricing today, right? I have a feeling, I have a mantra, I have a message to you that your pricing is fear-based. Most pricing is fear-based. In fact, if you study, microeconomics and the theory of pricing, we develop our pricing based on what we think the other person is going to do with the information. So if we're not confident in our pricing, if we're not confident about what we're doing, we don't depend on our pricing to do what we thought it would do in our microeconomic analysis of what a price of something should be, and we end up changing it. We have discounts, we have sales. Most pricing is fear-based, and it's extremely common in our industry, in the live events world, where we're bidding and we're quoting on things to invoke fear-based habits into our pricing. Now, we are set up. I mean, man, are we well equipped to manipulate pricing out of fear, right? Let's face it. When was the last time any of your customers paid a retail price, right? The retail price is the price that you put in your system. That's the number that comes out when you enter in that product code. Who's paying that? Really? Is anyone paying that at all? Sure, a small subset of customers are and should be. But are the right number of customers paying retail, right? So if you're doing events, chances are your customers aren't paying retail. You're always trying to hit a price point that will make them happy and hope that there's enough money left over to make you happy. So our system is set up with us starting with a retail price, and then we have lots of ways to fudge it around, manipulate it, change it. I mean, the most obvious one is discounts. I can put a discount on equipment or lines of equipment or certain items of equipment in my quote and reduce that price. And I can show the customer that discount and say, look, here's how hard I'm working for you. Please buy from me. But very often these discounts that we're giving away, and let's face it, we're giving away discounts, don't connect to anything. They connect more to our fear than the value of the job or the value of the customer. Now, back in the day, back when I was young and I started selling in a rental and event company, and we had our retail pricing, be quite honest with you, more than half of our customers paid retail. We put in the numbers. We got the right gear, we got the right solution for, we gave them the price and they paid it. But we had certain customers who were resellers, event producers, for instance, a meeting planner. If they write you the check, they're a reseller. Other companies, B2B business, we call it now, where we're sub-renting or cross-renting equipment to another company. But if an end customer came to us, if a corporation came to us and their meeting department said, hey, we need you to do the shareholders meeting, they paid retail. And if a producer came to us and said, we need you to do that same meeting, they got a discount, and hopefully they charged their customer what we would have charged retail, which is how retail pricing and discounts are supposed to work. Somebody should be paying retail. It should always be the end customer. A middleman, provided it's a middleman you want to do business with, is probably going to earn a discount. They went out and they won the business for you. They're going to resell it or mark it up, but you don't want them marking it up more than what you would have charged the customer, right? And that wouldn't be good for them, because if the customer finds out, they may not want to work with that producer next time. There's another reason, channel discounts are one thing. There's another reason to do discounts, which is volume. If I have a corporation that brings me tons and tons of business, purchasing might come back to me and say, hey, we should, get a rebate. They won't ask for a discount because the department that's paying for you doesn't. Purchasing isn't interested in that department saving money. Purchasing is trying to save money for the corporation. So they'll come back to you and say, hey, Why don't we set up a rebate program and we'll make you a preferred provider and you rebate 5% of all the jobs back to us at the end of the year, something like that. So that's another way of getting a discount, which is very normal, not very fear-based, but something that I used to see quite a bit back in the day, right? So we had this very strict structure: price, graduated discounts for resellers with high volume, and B2B customers who got the deepest discounts. We always tied our discounts to terms. So if we gave somebody a discount that said, you get 30% off the equipment, it was connected to paying us in 30 days. It was called discount 30, net 31. And if you don't get us paid in 30 days, which were our terms, then you sacrifice the discount. Now, it didn't happen very often. We didn't often get that, but it seemed like a good motivation at the time. And sometimes it worked. And sometimes we did go back and were able to retrieve some discounts for late payment. So terms discounts are valuable. Getting people to pay early or pay quickly or pay in full is also worth a discount. All of things were built into our system. Now, what else was built into our system? Well, if I didn't like the price that I saw on a line item, I could change the price. If I wanted to tell the client that, oh, yeah, this fancy new video projector is $1,500 a day, but you know what? I'm going to only charge you $1,000 a day. I could change that price. It's just another way of giving a discount. Again, it was often fear-based, but, we had a lot of ways to manipulate the price. Another way we manipulate price, of course, is the duration of the job. A one-day job was supposed to be a one-day charge. If the job went into a second day, we were going to charge another half a day for the rental equipment, for instance, another full day for labor, of course. But sometimes we fudge that. Sometimes we say, well, day one's not a full day, so we won't charge you for two. We're going to just charge you for one day. And for a week, we charged a 3-day week. So again, back in my day, we didn't discount that. We were very strict about that. But you didn't have to be. You could say, hey, I'll give you a 2.5-day week, which is just another way of extending a discount. So as buyers got more savvy into how we were pricing things, okay, they started asking for things that didn't look like discounts. No, I don't. 30% is a good discount. Thank you for all that. But can you drop the price on this? Or can you give me a 2-day week? Or can you eat the trucking? Or all of those things are discounts. And once the client's negotiating, you feel like you've got them. All you have to do is just get past this one thing and I can win the job. Yay, we did it. But fear is what got us there and the reason the fear worked, which is the point of this podcast, is your prices didn't mean anything. Your prices were totally made up. All the built-in tools for creating discounts and reductions were basically unregulated. I mean, how many times did your boss go, hey, you discounted it here, here, and here? They just looked at one or two things maybe and said, okay, well, you better win the job. So if pricing is fear-based and we really need to understand how to not sell from fear, what should affect pricing, right? If you're going to start from a retail price, and I'm not saying you should because there's time left in the podcast, but if we're going to start with a retail price, what should actually affect that price? Or more importantly, what should affect the discount? Here's what really matters. Number one is timing. We're a seasonal industry. During time periods where you expect to be busy, where we are traditionally busy, where your calendar is going to fill up, you should always apply the lowest possible discount you can get away with. And you're not going to win all the business. You are going to fill up your calendar with higher margin business because you're not applying discounts as liberally. Even if it's your best client, a job in busy October is worth more than a job in slow July. if those are your busy and slow months. So timing matters. And timing has to do with how busy you expect to be. Now, sometimes your July is super busy, which is going to affect your price or the amount of discount that you're willing to give up. So as soon as you see in your pipeline that you're going to be busy, timing is going to affect how much discount you're willing to give up. It's telling you, hey, I can be a little less afraid about winning this next job. Another thing that could affect or should affect pricing, okay, in your negotiation process is confirmation, right? The sooner a customer confirms the job, the more valuable it is to them, is to you. So why not make it more valuable to them as well? Say, if we can get this job confirmed and I can start working on it now when I am less busy, I can save you another 5%. If you're going to, your process says, customer, that you're going to confirm this in 2 months, that's too long. Here's my price if it's in 2 months. Here's my price if you confirm now. And the third thing that should affect pricing is not customer volume or how cool their shows are, is customer loyalty. A buyer who comes to you and does not shop it out, does not go to other people, does not pit you against competitors, it is always your business to lose. They are your best customer. They should get your best price. So you may not have to give them the lowest price you give them their best price. So if there's a discount involved in that, better terms, whatever it might be, a rebate, figure out what that is, because that's what should affect your price, not your fear. So this brings me to the real point of today, is that the only thing you can count on when you are selling services is your cost. And I know you think cost is a nebulous thing, and I'm going to try and dissuade you of that, but you can count on your cost. And even that has some risk, because sometimes we're not very good at outsourcing. And if we're not good at outsourcing, we don't have reliable prices for the things that we outsource, which means that we don't know what our cost basis is, and we can make mistakes. So if we only have 2 suppliers and we know that their cost is this, and this is what it's going to cost me to use them, and they're busy in October and we go to them and they're not available, where do we go? And was that cost basis that we used to sell with accurate? Or are we going to have equipment or people shipped in from another part of the country, right? So we can count on cost if we know how to figure out what cost actually is. And you know where this is leading. If you followed me at all, I am talking about replacement cost. So we need to know what the replacement cost of something is. Your internal cost is important to understand for internal cost controls, but it's your external cost is the thing that affects the price that you ultimately give to the customer, or more importantly, the margin you get to apply to that cost, which is the price to the customer. It's another way of saying you don't have pricing. The only person who has pricing is your customer. You have cost and you have margin. When you put those two things together in front of your customer, they see it as a price. That price is variable. And why? Why is that price variable? Well, for all the reasons I've already said. We have timing issues. We're very seasonal. We have demand issues. We have loyalty issues. We have volume issues. Okay? There's a lot of things that should affect pricing to the customer, but it's not our fear about, ooh, I'm not comfortable with that number today, or, ooh, they asked about this, maybe I should adjust it. Okay? So the better methodology in all of this is start developing your price to the customer from a cost basis. Instead of a retail price, and work backwards, okay, or a retail number and work backwards to the customer's price. Start with your cost and work forward to the customer's price. And cost plus margin is the price that we present to our customer. Now, margin is not the same across the board. The margin on your source 4 LED ellipsoidal, the margin on that is not very high because, one, it's an extremely common product. Everybody has it. They're very inexpensive to sub-rent. Your cost basis is extremely low. They last forever. The margin you get to apply to that product is not nearly as good as the margin you get to apply to a laser video projector. Okay. Laser video projector has a shorter lifespan. It has a higher initial cost. It costs more to sub-rent. It has to be shipped regularly. You may not find the projector you need in a local market. There's a lot of things that affect the margin on that item. So the cost you may have a replacement cost that seems pretty universal, but it has to take into account all the places you might have to go to get that piece of equipment. So margin gets applied by product class. And I gave you a piece of equipment example, but let's talk about people. Let's talk about the human capital that goes into our events. The most valuable thing we do is put the right people on a job, right? And the higher the skill, the higher the margin. So on any given job, we need people to help. We can call them box pushers, but the fact is these are skilled people, right? But they're going to help us get set up and then they're going to leave. The higher skilled people, okay, that are going to stay and operate the equipment, interface with the customer, respond to cues, deliver a great show, those people are worth more, not just to you, but to the customer. And they cost you more, right? So your cost basis is higher, their value is higher, their scarcity is higher. We have to put a higher margin on them, right? Now, speaking of scarcity, there are certain types of people or certain roles or positions of people that are really hard to find. They're just not that much demand for them, or there aren't that many people who excel at it. The margin for those folks is even higher. I mean, I'll give you an example. A good camera operator is priceless, right? But a good video director is hard to find. So the margin on a video director is going to be higher than the margin on a camera operator, right? And then another thing that affects the value of humans, talent on your events, is their name. When your customer says, I have to have Gary on my show, Gary's margin just went up. Don't be afraid to say, I can reserve Gary for the show. Here's what it's going to cost to do that. Okay? That's value. The client's told you that Gary is valuable. The client shouldn't, and the client, if you sell correctly, the client never even sees the difference in margin versus Gary versus someone else. But they might be able to infer that. So think about other things that you do for your customers, logistics and travel. Sometimes we think of these as pass-through things. Maybe we want to, we put 10% on it because, we didn't really do anything. We just bought airline tickets. Let me tell you, buying airline tickets, booking hotels, scheduling trucks, you're assuming a lot of risk in this. Cancellation fees, changes, it's labor intensive. There's a lot of stuff that goes on here, which is why when you're doing something for the customer to help them in their event that involves you outsourcing on their behalf, you should just put a fee on it. So that 10% fee is the fee that you put on all the airline tickets, but then you add margin to it as well, because you're not going to go back and try and charge the client for every change order because you had to move crew around or do things that are out of the client's control. So naturally, I could take that $500 ticket. I could put another $250 of margin on it. I've got a 10% fee on top of that. Airline ticket's $900. Awesome. Clients go, oh, okay. That makes sense. And if there are changes, you're going to eat them. The client goes, oh, that was wonderful because I don't really want to get any extra bills for travel. So to wrap up this, look, your cost and the fees that you charge for things are not negotiable, right? Get that through your heads. Make sure the team understands your cost basis is not negotiable. The fees that you're required to charge are not negotiable. The only thing that's negotiable is margin. And how much of the margin is negotiable is also something you've got to be extremely specific about. So when I'm putting together a quote, I can put in my costs, put the fees where they apply the appropriate margins for the different classes of equipment, the different classes of people, I now have a blended margin for the entire job. Let's say it's 50%. Good for you. That job's making a ton of money. Now the customer comes back and says, man, can we just we got to trim the budget a little bit. And they don't want to give anything up. And maybe you want to negotiate some payments or some things like that. Say, look, here's what I can do. I can reduce the total job by 5%. Problem solved, right? Now, 5% off of any item in your quote is not a big deal, right? And that is less than if you'd gone back and put in another 10 or 20 points of discount on the equipment. You cheated on your day rate multipliers, you zeroed an item out, or you allowed the scope to creep. The least costly way of negotiating is to give up a little bit of the overall margin. It's pretty darn simple when you look at it that way, but it's a big shift in mindset and thinking for our industry. But I give you hope. Other industries have been doing this forever. Okay. There's lots of people out there that are trained to sell in this environment. There are lots of precedents on how to set up the pricing systems in your quoting software or however you put budgets together. Okay. The first thing we have to do is, one, get over our fear-based retail pricing multiple discount system and be a lot more jealous about the profit we should be earning on the jobs that we sell. Thanks for listening. If you want to find out more about today's episode, go to trstimson.com/podcast, where you'll find the show notes, related links, and tons of other valuable resources. If you haven't already subscribed to the Intentional Success Podcast, please do so, and I'd greatly appreciate if you would rate and review the show. Also, if you think you might be a good fit to work together or want more information about the Stimson Group, I'd love to hear from you. Visit trstimson.com for more information.